this society, this patriarchal society, really breeds women to be in competition with each other, even if it's in very sick ways. Greetings, YouTube. I'm Jamila, aka Saltwater Daughter, and child, we got to talk about this Danae Jackson interview. Now, I did a video yesterday where I kind of recapped the first part. This time, I'm just going to talk about my takeaways from the entire video. I might even take that first one down, but because girl, it was a whole lot, a whole lot. And if I covered everything in this video, we would be here for about 2 hours. Child, it was so much. So just to recap a little bit about what she talked about in the first part, she talked about how they met. They met at Tuskegee. She said she was the nerdy, awkward girl that nobody was really paying attention to, and Derek, the handsome football jock, approached her. I said this in the video yesterday. I have come across 3 men who admitted to approaching the woman who they deemed least desirable. Because they knew that they could get whatever they wanted from that woman, that woman would be indebted to them. All 3 of those women, all 3 of those men were absolutely trash, right? Anyway, I am, and Danae is a beautiful girl. I'm not saying she's undesirable or unattractive, but I'm talking about the way that she described herself. I feel like Derek knew that he could have a chokehold on her since day one. They entered into a relationship. He was cheating on her the whole time. After college, they ended up moving to the same city again. They were on again, off again. But while they were off, she never stopped having sex. She said she used to see the other women coming as she was going. They would pass each other by. Danae was quite funny on this interview, by the way. But she was like, you know, is that her song, Her Man Is My Man? She said that was her, right? They were living that, right? Yeah, so she said she accepted that and dealt with it because she was trying to win Derek. During that time when he was messing with all these other women, and I believe she said at that time she knew it was 11 women. And we're going to talk about how she knew some of them, aside from passing them by in the hall. But when, you know, she was having the situationship with him, she got pregnant 3 times. So you know he's having sex. You see that he is having sex with other women, and you are still having unprotected sex with him. Ladies, myself included, because I've been there, we will literally put our lives at risk for these men, you know, and I believe it has to do with societal, social conditioning, religion, and all of that stuff. This is why I'm a big proponent of younger women dating and dating multiple men, right? Because we have been, at least my generation, it has been drilled in us, don't be a whore, you know, don't even look like a whore, whether you're sleeping with people or not, right? Like, it's this big thing. Like, in my generation, at least, we have been socially conditioned to audition for that wife role from day one. Some of us have been seeking that since we've been teenage girls. You know what I mean? So I think that's well, she said that's exactly what she was doing. Now, when her and Derek were in the relationship, she would go through his phone and find videos of him having sex with multiple women, not just one, but multiple women. And she would study these videos. Listen, and she talked about how that broke her spirit, how, you know, that it drove her absolutely insane. That man drove her crazy. She would like study the videos and try to emulate these women with their hairstyle, their dress, their mannerisms, and things that they were doing with him sexually because she was watching these videos. Look here, it is not healthy to sit there and watch someone you love, like, I mean, unless you into that kind of thing, because you know some people are into it, but you know, when it's consenting and open. But I mean, if this is something that you do not want and you know, and it hurts you, why would you sit there and watch that and oh my God, that just broke my heart. I'm talking about this was happening when they were actually supposedly in a relationship, when she would see these videos, and she would sit here and watch these videos with men having sex with multiple women. First of all, that is not, I'm older than them, so I don't know what the kids are doing these days. I get, you know, let's make a porn, let's have a little fun, but like multiple women, like that lets me know he's a damn sociopath right there. Because, and ladies, why are you letting these random men record you having sex? Like, again, if it's your partner or whatever, and even then, I'm like, but Like, y'all, is this what the kids are doing these days? Y'all just recording every damn thing? Like, girl, did you check to see if you on Pornhub? Like, I'm just asking. But what really baffled me about her is she would watch these videos and she would not confront him. She would cry about it. She said she would sit in the closet and cry and he would console her what's wrong. And instead of telling him the truth, she would say she was crying about her father. She said that she was afraid of confronting him because she was afraid of losing him. And I was like, oh my God. Definitely a broken woman. I said this in the last video and I'll say it again. Although it is incredibly toxic to be treated a certain way and to watch someone hurting you and not confront them. But as I said in the last video, again, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I used to do the same thing, not necessarily with romantic partners, but more so with platonic friends and even family members that would do things, say things, I would hear something or whatever, and would not confront the issue head on because I was afraid of the backlash. Or, you know, there were times where I would try to confront the person and people with narcissistic traits. And as much as I hate to use that word because we definitely overuse it, we're going to go ahead and say that Derek has some narcissistic traits, right? But people like that will respond with such rage and such, you know, mental gymnastics that you will feel wrong for confronting them. So oftentimes you do not confront the situation. You just, I know for me, I would continue to try to beg for that person's respect, not in the way of, can you please respect me, but continuing to be this good person so that they would like me and respect me. Thank God for therapy and thank God for healing. And, you know, so when I heard her say that, although I was like, girl, I would have been busting windows and I promise you, I would have saw 20 seconds of one movie because it would have been a wrap after that. But although I thought it was absolutely like mind-blowing that she continued to watch these videos, I also understood being afraid to confront somebody because you're afraid of losing them, even though they are not worth having. Like, oh my God. So yes, when she was in the situationship and he was having sex with all of the other women, this is after they were not in a relationship anymore. She was having sex with him, got pregnant 3 times. She was not protecting herself. And I'm gonna venture to say he was probably not protecting himself with most of those other women, except the ones who really insisted. And I say that because when he got exposed back, when was that, 2021, that's what one of the women said, that he did not like to use condoms. I think one of them ended up getting pregnant for him as well, right? Anyway, she gets pregnant for the 4th time. And they are not together, but they are seeing each other. And I think she ended up moving in with him because she got pregnant, but they're not together, right? So probably during her pregnancy, she was witnessing him doing whatever the hell he wanted to do. She was experiencing a lot of trauma. She also said she was dealing with postpartum depression, and we will get back to that later. So she calls Derek's mother, right? And it's like, you know, he's playing games with me. And you know, we like to call the mamas. We like to call the sisters because we think that they're going to defend us. And apparently Derek's mom did, because next thing Danae knows, her mother is getting a phone call saying Derek just called and asked for your hand in marriage. And I thought y'all weren't together. Now, Danae's mama didn't like Derek at all. But she's like, no, we're not together, but oh, he's going to marry me. And so, you know, they have the baby, he proposes, and she's happy. And these are the words coming from her mouth. When Derek proposed to her, she felt like she won over those other women. She also said it was a big accomplishment, right? And listen, there are a lot of women out there that feel like marriage is an accomplishment. There are a lot of women out there that will have you to believe that they got chosen, right? But they were actually the ones that did the work behind the scenes to get chosen, right? There's a lot of physical and emotional labor sometimes that goes into getting chosen. So anyway, she, you know, was happy. They're getting married and all of that. They go to premarital counseling. Now, Derek, by this time, he is on our social media is telling us not to date men that don't go to therapy, but he would not finish the premarital counseling. He was also still cheating on her their entire engagement. She's pregnant for the second time when they get married and have the next baby, right? So now she's got these 2 kids. She says she dealt with severe postpartum through both of the pregnancies, and, he's kind of hiding her. And then she says, she gets these therapists. She said she had 3 therapists trying to work through this. And that's another thing. That accountable word that these ex-wives like to throw around on the internet all the time when it comes to women. Y'all need to be accountable. Accountable. When things happen to you, you need to be accountable. This is why I hate that word so much, although I believe in accountability, because, women are notorious for doing the work, going to therapy, buying the books, seeing the self-help gurus like Derek, doing all of that. And they are still being emotionally manipulated, right? So miss me with the accountability, right? As if these men don't be out here. Derek Jackson is a big example, still playing with women's emotions. Derek literally built an empire on playing with Black women's vulnerability, their desire to be partnered, and their emotions, all right? So like I said, Derek is growing more popularity on social media from telling women to stay away from men like him. So yes, Derek was growing popularity on social media, but it was Danae that really helped that empire to grow. It was her who was, doing all the back end stuff when he started doing the paid content, where he was making quite a bit of money off of that, the t-shirts, the books, the speaking engagements, and all of that. And he began to make money. That man was worth millions. I don't know if he still is, but Danae said that they were living in a 9,000 square foot home in Atlanta, but Derek still had a condo in Midtown because he said that's where, he needed to record the content and do the business and do the webinars. He was spending the night at the Atlantic Station condo working, right? And Danae, of course, later found out that he was putting in some work, all right, at that condo. Derek, now in his book, and I read the book, I was looking for it, I cannot find it. I must have thrown it away, I gave it away, I don't know. But in the book, Don't Forget Your Crown, he did describe himself as Danae described him, right? It was, he was playing with women. He was emotionally manipulating them. He knew how to gaslight them. He was saying all of these things, right? So he was admitting that he was that guy. But then at the end of the book, he talked about Danae and how he became to this epiphany that she was the one and he wanted to be with her. So he put his F-boy ways aside and he married her. He said that in the book. But if you did not read the book, he never really presented that he was married, right? Every now and then you would see the wedding band, but I knew he was married, like I said, because I read the book and, inside, whatever. But to the public, like, unless you really dug deep, you did not know that he was married. So I say that to say I can understand how some of these women were showing up at the condo and all of that and did not know. Now, some women said he was taking them to the 9,000 square foot mansion where Danae rested her head when she was out of town, visiting her mom and stuff like that. Child, what a mess. Anyway, Danae finally got tired, child, so she packed up her babies and she moved on to Denver. She said that her phone was cut off because, let him tell it, they were having a financial crisis. And this is because she was popping up at the condo. She was calling him, texting him paragraphs and doing all of that. So she was saying that although she was helping him to build this empire and put a lot of this stuff together, he was controlling the money. And he was like, we're in a financial crisis and your phone is going to get cut off, all while driving a freaking Lamborghini. And got to make that make sense. But anyway, she said her phone was cut off. So while her phone was cut off, she packed her kids up, her and her mom, and she took them out to Denver. By the time she got to Denver, that's her hometown, Derek was already there trying to win her back. And I'm just like, so you are not even staying at your house. Most of the nights you're staying at the condo doing whatever the hell you want to do. You cut off her phone so that she could not reach you. And then when she leaves you, you go chasing her? What? Child, I will never understand them people with the XY chromosomes. I will never understand it. And again, it goes back to that accountability rant I just went on, because she was really trying hard to work on herself. She knew something was wrong, like, right? So she said she had 3 therapists. She was doing the Bible study. She was doing like all of the things, trying to, like, I feel like, get her sanity back, because that man played with her mind so much. So she said they stayed apart for about 8 months. She was trying to heal, trying to work on herself and all of that. And, you know, at this whole time, Derek was coming to visit the children, and he was trying to win her back. She gave him a list of 13 things to do in order for her to return. And one of the things was he had to change his phone numbers, plural, right? He had to get rid of anyone that was working with them, that, because he had people on his staff that apparently he had dealings with, or people that maybe she thought he had dealings with. She wanted him to get deliverance. And so she was recommending these ministers to him, and he was flying and following these certain ministers, going to church and things like that. There were a whole bunch of other things. Now, the mama ain't never liked Derek. She said that in the beginning, and the mama was like, listen, you need to leave that man alone. But she said since Derek was taking some of the steps, didn't even take all 13, she decided to go back with him, decided to leave Atlanta, move to Texas, because she felt like there was less access in Texas. I was like, child. Baddies are in Texas too. Baddies that will sleep with your husband are very much in Texas too. and she learned. Now this is around the time that Tasha K broke the story with you know, the other women. Now she said that it happened, that particular relationship happened while the two of them were apart. She already knew about it, and, you know, they had already dealt with it, and they were working on healing and repairing her marriages. So that's what she said. But she said that it also opened up another wound. So this is when the infamous Bonnet of Salvation video came out, right? You know, we see her sitting with her husband. He's making this, you know, public apology and all of this, and she's holding his hand. And she talked about that. She said that he didn't like push her to do it, but she said she felt like we are working on our marriage, we're healing and all of this, and he's going through this storm. It's for better, for worse. So I'm going to sit here with them. But she said they did not prepare. They did not have a PR person. They did not do any of that. She said she was pregnant. They had just come back from his stepfather's funeral. She said she dealt with the postpartum depression. So she said she felt like she might have been dealing with some of that. She was dealing with morning sickness. She did not feel good. And that's why she got on the camera looking like this. This is the first time we were introduced to her. Derek, this handsome guy, and then we see her. And people were saying some really cruel things at that time. I see why he cheating. And, you know, that is so ugly. You know, I'm no doctor or whatever, but I would venture to say, just from what she said, that during that time, she was probably, you know, especially because she was pregnant, she was probably also having a little bit of a... Let me talk about before she did the video putting the curse on us. She said she did this healing retreat for women who have dealt with infidelity. And I remember going to her page and seeing that she was doing this retreat, right? Right after that retreat, she came back to the house and she sent her husband a text. He was upstairs, she was downstairs, and she said that she was going to forgive him, right? I guess he had cheated on her again, child. I don't know. But anyway, she said that she was going to forgive him. And his response was that he wanted out of the marriage, right? She also talked about somewhere in that time. I was a little confused with her timeline, but she said that because she was doing the healing work, he decided that he did not want to be intimate with her. At that time, I think he was checking out of the marriage, right? And then, like I said, she wrote that text telling him, I forgive you. And his response was, I want a divorce. She says she responded, if that's what you want. The next day, I guess he said, do you have any questions about the text I sent you? She was like, no, right? She said he did a video about it. She responded in the comments section like facts, and he blocked her. And that's when she said she did the other infamous video where she put the curse on us, right? Now, she taught me something in that video, because I had no idea that she was reading from the book of Psalms. That's not my realm anyway, but she said she was reading from the book of Psalms. So she put that biblical curse on us. So at that time, I feel like she was still fighting for her marriage, even though he decided that he wanted a divorce. I feel like Derek depleted her. She helped him build this empire, which, might have been crumbling a little bit, but women, I don't know why we do this, but he still had followers after, or he still has followers after all of that, right? So, I guess he realized he depleted her. He got everything that he needed from her, and now he was ready to move on, right? And a couple of months later, this is when we see the video of him out with a next woman, and this is when he announced their divorce. And I think at that point, this is when Danae finally accepted that it was over, and good for her, because she looks amazing. She looks like she's truly getting the help that she deserves. Now, she's definitely in the church and all of that. And there were some things that she talked about, like, she says she's been doing therapy, but there's certain things that only Jesus could fix. Anyway, it seems like she is really, really doing the work that she needs to do to heal. Because like I said, she looks good. She seems to be on the other end of that. She was throwing shade at him the whole time. She had jokes the whole time. Speaking of having jokes, there were quite a few people who said that they didn't like the way that Latarius Whitfield was laughing throughout her interview. And the first part, I didn't really see that. But in the second part of the interview, I was like, yeah, because there were some things that she was saying that were really dark and not funny. And he was laughing. I don't know if it was uncomfortable laughter or what. But I was like, what you laughing for? This shit is not funny right now. But the part that stood out to me the most, you guys, the part that disturbed me the most is when that lady said that her daughter came out dark-skinned. And she knew that her husband had a preference for dark-skinned women. So she felt as if she carried this child, but those other women that he prefers had them, and it had her daughter. And she said that it affected the way that she was able to raise and nurture her daughter. I was like, oh my God. But at the same time, it speaks to how, we talk about this, how mothers are sometimes in competition with their daughters, how elder women in the church are sometimes, toxic and abusive to the younger women because they're secretly jealous, and how this society, this patriarchal society, really breeds women to be in competition with each other, even if it's in very sick ways, when mothers are being in competition with their daughters. And like I said, elder women, teachers being in competition, this weird competition with their students and all of that. Anybody in positions of authority being abusive to women who are younger than them, because there's this deep-seated jealousy over men. Oh my God, we got to do better. Patriarchy has done a number on us. No offense to anybody here. I'm not religion bashing, but I think the way that certain religions are interpreted, that has done a number on us as well. And I'm grateful to see, particularly Gen Z and the younger millennials, especially, are starting to walk away from some of those toxic ideologies that have been harmful to us as women, and how we relate to each other. So, yeah. God, when she said that, that just broke my heart. But, I'm so glad that she has admitted that to herself, most of all. And I'm hoping that admitting those things to other women will help them get the healing that they deserve, right? Because imagine that little girl, if she had stayed with Derek and continued on this path, imagine how that little girl would have been treated as she matured, right? As a teenager and all of that. Imagine the trauma Danae Jackson would have inflicted on her child, right? Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was a great interview. I actually think, despite, Latarius Whitfield laughing and shit when it wasn't appropriate, I think he did a great job on the interview. You could tell she felt very comfortable and safe around him. I do see big things for Danae Jackson in the future. She is very intelligent. Like I said, she was the brains behind Derek's operation. She seems to be very in a place of healing, or on a trajectory to healing. And I see big things for her in her niche, right? I said this in the last video, but in case I take it down, child, we owe that lady an apology. I owe that lady an apology. Because, you know, I definitely laughed at the bonnet of salvation. I cracked up at the curse, right? And all of that, right? But what I saw was a woman who was unhinged. I have been there, you know, when it comes to men. Many of us have been there. It might have not been public. It might have not been with a public figure. It might have not been to that extent. But, you know, I've definitely allowed a man to make me drive me completely insane and make me forget my worth, right? More than once. So, you know, she is me. So yeah, when it comes to that, she is me and I am her. So Danae, you will probably never see this video, but in case she does, I owe you an apology, sis, for laughing at you. I wish Danae a whole lot of success. I cannot wait to see what's next for her. I'm glad that she has found her voice. I know who ain't glad that she found her voice, because, woo, baby, she dragged him so classily, like Funky Daniva says, classy based. She dragged the hell out of him. Anyway, you guys, that's all I got for this video. Those of you who are regular subscribers to my channel, I know, I broke my promise to you and myself. We'll talk about it in another video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.